Hi, and welcome back to the FreeFormKnits YouTube channel. I'm Haxann Evers, a knit and crochet whose freeform ways of crafting builds the world of design. All the places you can find me will be listed right down below this video. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by and crafting with me today. In this podcast, we'll be talking about some knitted finished objects. Well, no, knitted finished objects today, actually. We're talking about some knitting and crochet, some of my designs, and just a lot of crafty chats. So just get right into it. I'm coming to you today from my home in Pennsylvania, where I live with my family. We're a large family in a not too large house, so if there's some background noise, I apologize for that. I do my best to edit all that out. It is the 8th of March. It's a Tuesday, which I keep forgetting. I can't keep track of the days of the week anymore. And it's been a little over a week, I think, since my last podcast, so I have quite a bit to show. Not as much as I'd like, but when is it ever as much as you would like? So we'll just get right into it. I have 2 finished objects this week. They are small, they are dishcloths. So I kind of cast these on spur of the moment. In Kate of the Graceful Tango, I watch her podcast and follow her on Instagram. She released a new dishcloth pattern. She's doing this like dishcloth challenge. And one of the patterns, the pattern she released this month was, I believe it's called the Rhythm dishcloth. So I made these 2 dishcloths, again, kind of spur of the moment. It was the weekend. I just kind of wanted something quick. I wanted to learn something new. And it was really fun, and I've come around to this stitch. I can appreciate it. It is very pretty once it's worked up. And I kind of like, when I make dishcloths, I typically make the knitted dishcloths, but I kind of like how the crochet dishcloths work up so much quicker. Like these were done very fast, same day, probably within maybe an hour to get both of these, probably less. But with crocheting dishcloths, like doing double crochet or half double crochet, I just find they're not as good dishcloths to use. Like just their gauge would be a bit looser and it's not as good in the kitchen. So I usually make the knitted dishcloths just garter stitch, but those go slower and I like fast. So yeah, I'll probably make this dishcloth pattern again. I don't have a big cotton stash, so I'll just make these whenever I want and use that up. But little not works in progress, little finished objects, but something to show for. So that's that. I don't think I finished anything else that you've seen as a work in progress, but I did make a lot of progress on the things I had cast on. So the thing that saw the biggest amount of work, and which is kind of finished for the time being until I can get more yarn, is this corner to corner blanket. So I am obsessed with corner to corner blankets. I learned how to make corner to corner blankets and am obsessed with them. So yeah. You'll be hearing a lot about corner to corner blankets because I love them. But this is the blanket. So it is made out of, I love this chunky. And I had 6 skeins. I've used up all 6 skeins. I did 5 skeins to increase, and then I did 1 skein to start decreasing back down. And every time I hold this up, the light changes. So I'm sorry about that. I've only just started decreasing. And I think when I start my decreasing on these blankets, I mess up because this side is so much bigger than this side. And I'm not sure how that happened, like decrease wise. I probably messed up, but it's okay. It'll end up being more rectangular, and that's what kind of happened to my first corner blanket, which I don't mind. It's fine. It's fine. I'll eventually learn what I'm doing wrong and fix it and make a perfect square. I don't know. But it is gonna be, this is like how wide it's gonna be, almost. No, not quite my wingspan. It'll be, I think it's like a step above a lap blanket. So it'll be a good size. And I only have to get 4 more skeins because I did 5 and 5, I think. I think I increased with 5 and I started decreasing with the last one. I hope that's right. Otherwise, it'll be one of those projects that gets put off because I can't get enough yarn to finish it. And I was making this on well, no, it's not a K-hook. If you watched the last episode of the podcast and you watched, I had this week a little cast on vlog over my channel. I talk about both those videos because they were filmed rather close together, about how this hook is, it must be mismatched. The theory I'm going with, one of my viewers, she said it's probably just wrong. And it probably is. That makes the most sense to me. This is a very old hook. I don't know when, it's very old, like that's all I can say about it. It was just given to me with a project that someone's family member had started making and they weren't making anymore, and so they just gave me the blanket and the hook. So this is just a very old hook, and it's clearly not a K, because the K I have, which I don't even know. Okay, I have this problem. I have behind me, I have my double pointed needles and my crochet hooks in these little mugs in order to be able to find them easier. And since putting them in these mugs, I can't find them at all. I don't know what's going on. Did I put it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where anything is, and that's very strange for me because I feel like I'm an organized person. Fairly organized. I don't know. But I have another hook that's a K, that says it's a K, and it's not the same size as this. To put it, it's like not even close. So this is probably a modern day, one of my other views said an L or an M. I've never seen one of those hooks. I need a new set of crochet hooks. That's what it comes down to. I just need a new, fresh, new set of crochet hooks that's marked properly and has the metric sizes as well as the letter sizes. That's just what it comes down to. But anyway, this is the hook I was using. I have a gauge checker, so I could check the millimeter size, but I don't know where that is either. I know where nothing is. I don't know why. I organize my stuff only to realize I'm missing more stuff than when I started. I don't know. Oh well. This is the blanket. It's super pretty, it's super fun to work on, and I can't wait to get more yarn and finish it. I'm kind of on a using up my stash kick. Like, I talked about this before, I don't have a large stash, but I've been building up my stash because I've experienced not having enough yarn, which is a horrible feeling, don't recommend it. But I'm kind of in the mood to use up the yarn I bought for specific projects, so that's been nice, that's been fun. Okay, the next works in progress. I think we all have, it's all knitting and most of it's socks. So we'll start with one sock. I actually have, technically you could say it counts as a finished object. Like I have a full pair of socks, but they're not the same sock, so we'll start with that. So first off is, let me grab my sock blocker. I have two sock blockers. So why I only grabbed one to set up, I don't know. But the first finished object, which I'm so excited about that this pair is so close to being done, is the first sock of one of my cabled socks. I am releasing a collection for later this year. My cabled sock collection. It's be the sister collection to a collection I released last year, my garter stitch sock collection. But this will be featuring cables, and this is one of the socks in my collection. It's got these cables right down the front, and it's so pretty. I love these cables. I think I love this cable pattern more than I love the first one, just because it's a shorter repeat, so it's just easier, even though the other one, once you get it down, it's really easy. But it's just so pretty, and I love it so much. It's got my shortcut heel, my hat trick toe, and this pretty, I call it a fake rib cuff. It's not twisted rib, but it's like a cop-out version of twisted rib. I have a problem with ribbing where I want ribbing, but I don't want to work ribbing. So I have to change it up every now and again in order to get a good size cuff. But that's the cuff that's featured on all these socks. And yeah, it's just so pretty. So I'm designing this collection out of Knit Pixtral Tweed, and this colorway is the Lavender Field Heather. Super pretty. And I've just done the cuff of the second one, and now I have to start following the pattern, and then I can send it out to my testers. It's just all the fun stuff. So this sock will be in testing very soon. If you are interested in being a test knitter, I actually have an email list linked in the description box below, specifically for when I'm looking for test knitters to work on my patterns. So if you are interested in ever being a test knitter for me, you can sign up there just so that you get notified of any time I need testers. So I really love it so much. I love seeing it on the blocker. I haven't woven in my ends. I never do this. I've started doing this and I'm not sure why. I have just been leaving my ends and then I'll weave them in later. But it's kind of weird for me because I've never done that before. I've always woven in my ends before I even cast on the second sock. Now I've left it, and it's a little weird for me, but I kind of like not having to stop, put my needles down and weave in the ends. Though it kind of bugs me because I end up waiting a little too long to weave them in. So I should do that sooner rather than later. But anyway, very pretty. I just love it so much. Oh, it's so much fun. I'm really excited for this collection, so be sure to stay tuned for more news on that. There'll be one more sock I have to design after this for the collection, and then I can get, I think my favorite part is seeing my testers socks, like just watching, they send me updated the pictures of them working on the sock in progress, and then their finished pictures, and it's just so fun. It's just so fun, and I can't wait to share those pictures with you, so you can see just how the patterns look in different yarns. It's the best. It's just the best. So yeah, that's my first work in progress. Just starting. Gotta work on this. I'm trying to make a point of getting this sock done by the end of the week, because otherwise I'll feel in my head like I'm behind, even though I'm not. Who am I behind? I don't know. I'm behind someone. Don't know who. But yeah, super pretty, super fun. And gotta work on it. So that's all that's holding me up. Just gotta finish the second sock. My next work in progress, another sock. I also finished one sock of it, and I think this was a work in progress. I think I just started. I was actually probably a little bit behind here. This is the second sock. This is my first pair of scrappy socks ever, and I love it. I love it so much. So I hoard my fingering weight scraps because I have a little bit of trouble getting access to fingering weight yarns. Like fingering weight yarns typically aren't, a wide variety of them really aren't sold, especially for socks in like craft stores like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. They don't have a wide variety of finger weight yarns, so I always have to order it. It's just a little bit harder to get them for me personally. So when I do get finger weight yarn, I hoard it, make a pair of socks, and then keep the scraps. And I'm finally using up some of those scraps and making a pair of scrappy socks, and it's been so much fun. So this is the second one, and I have all the socks here. I think in the last podcast I talked about using 3 colors for each sock, and as I was finishing the third color and about to start the heel, I was like, why am I using only 3 colors for each sock when if I use 6 colors for each sock then they'll match perfectly? Why did I do that? I don't know. I don't sometimes think things all the way through in my head. It takes me a minute. I don't know. All that to say, here's the first sock. It's so cool. I love it so much. So all of these scraps are knit picks. All of these scraps are knit picks, but these 4 are knit pick stroll tonal, and this one is knit pick stroll glimmer, and then this one is knit pick stroll tweed. So I don't remember all the colorway names. I think this one was blue violet, poppy field. I want to say pucker, but that's probably not right. I don't remember what this one's called. Don't know. This one's mocha. That's this one. This one is. So, and then this one was just probably just black or something. Black heather. I don't know. Charcoal, maybe. I don't know. No, not charcoal. I don't know. I don't know. I should just say I don't know and move on. But it has my shortcut heel and stockinette, my hat trick toe, and just plain 1x1 ribbing. I only did 10 rounds of 1x1 ribbing because I thought I wouldn't have enough for sock, but I do. Like, I can't even describe. I had 2 balls of it, but because in my head I put 1 for one sock and 1 for the other sock, it didn't. Of course, if I ran out for the other sock, I could take from this one, because I'm not going to use all this for one sock, you know? I don't know. Sometimes my brain just skips a step. I don't know. It's weird, but eventually I catch up and it's fine. So, but anyway, I don't even care that the cuff is short, because like I said, this is just plain 1x1 ribbing. I get bored of ribbing. I like long cuffs. I don't want to do long cuffs, so 10 row cuff is just fine by me. I didn't want to do 12 rounds because I feel like that's too short, whereas 10 rounds looks intentionally short, you know, like, because if you make it too long, it kind of, or too short, I don't even know what I'm saying. 12 rounds looks like you didn't have enough to do 15. 10 rounds looks like you meant to do 10. That's what I'm going with. Let's pretend it's all intentional. So what finally made me want to do scrappy socks is I am doing to weave in my ends Hey Brownberry's method of weaving in ends. If you haven't seen her method of weaving ends, see it, because it's genius. It's genius. It's you would think, if you knit color work, then you know how, like, when you have floats of color work, you need to tack down the yarn. You can do that with weaving in your ends. Now in my head, it always felt like, well, that's gonna be too floppy. Like the yarn's gonna come undone, the project's gonna come undone. But really it won't. It won't, because she did it for both ends. So like I started tacking down the pink end when I was almost done with the yellow, and then when I switched to the pink, I tacked down the yellow end, and they're really secure. Like, and I plan to just trim them, and I probably, like if I really am worried about it, I can weave them in a few stitches, but I'll probably just trim them and leave them a little long like this one. Because this has wool content in it, I think Knit Stroll Tonal is 75/25 super merino wool nylon blend, so it'll probably just felt to it and it'll be fine. I have another set of minis that I plan to make another pair of scrappy socks. They don't have as high a wool content, so I might tack down the ends a few stitches when making those socks, just because it doesn't have as high a wool content. But otherwise, I like working on them was really easy. Like I didn't feel like my you know, when you switch colors, how the stitches get a little loose. I didn't have that problem because they were tacked down so well. So it's a really great method, and I'm in love with it and want to make all the scrappy socks on top of everything else I want to make. I also didn't do any correction, color correction, and because those ends are tacked down, stitches, like you can kind of tell that's where I have my join, but not really, not enough that I feel like, oh, I should have changed colors, should have done something like picked up a stitch or whatever to lessen that join. So I'm just really in love with this method, and I'll see if I can put the video link down below if you're looking for it. Otherwise, it's just Hey Brown Berry, her channel. I love her videos. I love that tutorial. I love it so much. I just love it. I'm really having fun knitting socks again, feeling like I have an abundance of sock yarn in order to knit up. So yep, and like pretty much the same spot as the other sock, just have to plug away on it. I really want to work on this all the time, but it's the pattern sock that I should be working on. Alright, so we'll take a break from sock knitting and move into a little bit of sweater talk. Even though I haven't made a lot of progress on my sweater, I'll be honest. Not a lot of progress. I did work on it a little bit, and it's a goal of mine this week to actually get to the sleeve separation. Yeah, because I can knit a whole pattern sock and separate for the sleeves and work on my scrappy socks and the new cast on. Yeah, because there's plenty of time, right? Right? Okay, so I'm knitting the Textured Top-Down Yoke by Cheryl. I'm gonna butcher the last name, so it'll be on the screen. And I haven't made much progress. I did put a marker. I only knit on this, I did this much in one day, and then I didn't pick it up at all. So I was here last time, so you can just kind of see more of the stockinette sleeve and the moss stitch. I'm doing my increase a little bit different. I don't like doing make one lefts or make one rights, so I just do yarn overs, and then on the next round I will just work that stitch through the back loop in order to make it there be no holes. So it looks pretty nice. Having a little bit of trouble keeping it in pattern with the moss stitch. I will say this pattern's kind of written more as a recipe, which as for me, a lazy pattern reader, is kind of nice because like I said, lazy pattern reader. Not very good at reading patterns, even though I can. I don't know. So it's not really if you've never knit a sweater before, or if you're like a pretty new beginner knitter to sweaters, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just, it wants you to have prior knowledge of how raglans work, and because I have that knowledge, it's very easy for me. But if you are still a little new to sweaters, or cardigans, probably not the best to start with, even though it is very simple with moss stitch and stockinette stitch. Just might want to work on a different, more beginner-friendly pattern. But I am liking it. I'm gonna like the finished object. It still looks very tiny because I haven't done all the increases yet. Kind of always worries me when a sweater's at this point. Also does worry me because I don't like this neckline's a little bit too small for my personal liking. I have this thing about necklines. I don't like them on my neck. I like a bit of a wider neckline, otherwise it feels like it's just annoying. I don't know. But that's all there is to say about that. It's Yarn Bee Must Be Merino in the blush color, a blend of acrylic, nylon, and merino wool. So, super pretty yarn. I have to prioritize how I want to get all this done. That's my real problem. Because in the evenings, I like to pick up just a basic sock. So, and then I kind of have this time in the afternoon that I feel like I want to work on something patterned, so that's kind of where when I work on my sock, my pattern sock, my cable sock, I don't know when to fit this in because I do feel like it's not at that big sweater point yet where it's like, oh, I have a sweater, I gotta take the sweater out and sit down and this is my knitting time to work on this sweater. But it's not at that point yet, so why am I holding this up? I don't know. I don't know a lot. This is rambling. I'm sorry about that. Okay, the last work in progress is a new cast on. I started it yesterday. It is a toe-up sock, which I love so much. I'm loving this project so much. I've been wanting to make a toe-up sock for a while, and this was just basically an excuse to do that. I prefer cuff-down socks typically. I don't know why. I think it's more because in my head I do my bind-offs too tight, and the idea of messing up the bind-off for a toe-up sock is a little stressful to me, but I think I have an idea of how to make sure that that bind-off doesn't flare out because it's too loose and also isn't so tight I can't get it over my foot. So this is the sock so far. This is the back and the front. Are you ready for this? I love this so much. It's brioche. It's one color brioche, which is the easiest brioche in the world. I will say I'm not a big fan of brioche. I've done some brioche in the past. I love how it looks, but it is a long process. Like doing 2-color brioche, you have to do 2 rows for every 1 row. 1-color brioche, though, is so much fun and so simple and so squishy. It's just so squishy. Look at it. It's so pretty. So I'm really excited about this. This is a DK weight sock, so it's going to fly off the needles. I'm using Baby Bee Sweet Delight prints in the kitty colorway. This is a blend of acrylic and polyamide, so it's perfect for socks. I'm using size 4 needles, I believe, which are 3.5 millimeter. These are my knit picks in the mosaic option set. I never remember the name of this wood. It's not the Sunstruck. I never remember the name of this wood, but it's super pretty and I love it. And I love the speckles of this yarn. Just so pretty, and like I said, super squishy. So my cast on for toe-up socks, I actually have a tutorial here on my channel on how I cast on my toe-up socks. It's the laziest toe-up cast on ever. It's literally just a cast on, and then at the end of the sock, I'll just seam it closed. Because I think the 2 most common toe-up sock cast-ons are Judy's Magic cast-on and the Turkish cast-on, and I always manage to mess them up. So I just skip that step and just cast on, and then I'll sew that closed. And I have a tutorial on my channel how to do that if you are interested. Because the 2 things that hold me up from making toe-up socks are the cast on and the cast off. So I'm solving those problems with this sock. And yep, super fun, super squishy, and I want to work on it all the time. I also plan, I don't know if I'm going to do this, I think I am. I'm going to reverse engineer my shortcut heel in order to work it toe-up, because that's another thing that holds me up with toe-up socks. Because typically when I make toe-up socks in the past, I just use a German short row heel, which was my heel of choice for a very long time until I came up with the shortcut heel. And I know how like heel flaps and gussets work with toe-up socks. My shortcut heel uses a little bit of a gusset and a little bit of a heel flap just to get the shape perfect. So I know how to reverse engineer it in theory. I've never done it, so that's what I'm going to be doing with this sock, I think. Unless when I get to the heel, I'm like, I don't want to do that right now. But I think I want to. It's something I've been really wanting to do for a while, is finally reverse engineer that so that I can use my shortcut heel whenever, because my shortcut heel fits me so good. It's, how many years has it been? It's been a couple years since I came up with that heel, and it's the heel I use all the time with my socks because it's just so easy and it's just fits so good. Like, it's my perfect heel and doesn't have any short rows, and so you can pick it up and put it down whenever you want and don't lose your place, because I've done that plenty of times. All that to say, this is my last work in progress. It's super fun and I want to work on it all the time, which is hard because I want to work on my other whips almost as much. So yeah, that is everything I have to talk about today in this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you could take a moment and comment down below something you are working on, I would love to hear about it. I get so much inspiration from hearing other makers talk about their works in progress. So if you could, I would love to read about what you're working on. That's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy crafting!